right, so I have taken this position here on Euro Yen. I have not traded Euro Yen for a long time, but this is really a nice setup here. I've been looking at trying to look at some more pairs, especially with the way that gold's been moving. We had some nice trades, but um, you know, you always want to be prepared for things to cool off, and maybe gold, has some bearish days or some things like that. And so, and also, I don't normally look at trend lines, but like I say, I usually look at trend lines as you know not too specific, similar to support and resistance. I look at them as more of the general shape of a trend, right? And so we're following that very nicely. But also here we have a really nice zone. We might be able to see it better on the hourly chart. Um, Really nice zone here that we're tapping into and respecting. And so if we go to a 4 hour, it's the same thing. It's just recent structure that we're respecting. And yeah, we're gonna move to the upside here. I'm just targeting pretty close to the top up here. We could move it a little bit higher, but that's really all I'm looking at the moment. And so yeah, uh, pretty simple setup here. We'll probably come up a bit and then pull back maybe to the trend line before continuing to the upside to fill this move. But stops just below this structure. We should be good with that. And yeah, just a pretty simple setup here on Euro Yen. All right, guys. So there is our Euro Yen trade. Um, we got about a 3 to 1 here, so a little bit less. So I have manually closed this, but I just wanted to go over this and review it a little bit. So this was a really simple trade, like a really textbook simple entry, right? So if we take a look here on the daily chart, right, we can see obviously we came down, we made a low, and then we took out that low, but quickly came back up. So our shorter term bias here on this chart would be bullish, right? Um, and then so as we're working our way up, we're sort of stair stepping our way up, right? Now, when we just look at this, right, this is sort of how I used to view things a little bit of, what you would call clean zones, right? And you can still apply a lot of those principles, but I just, sort of looking at things a little bit differently, right? But so we have a clean candle here. Our next level of resistance is right here, right? And so within here, where we are, um, right, we had a pullback here, and then we established new support and broke the high. So this is part of our recent structure for support that we want to go long off of, right? And so we have a candle closing above this resistance here, right? And so the new daily candle, what does it do? It comes down and makes a bottom wick, and then as it's moving up, right? So let's go down to we can just go back to a 30-minute chart, um, right? So again, keep that in mind, right? These zones that we have here are really just wicks and candle closes and opens on higher time frames, right? So if we go back to a 30-minute, what do we have? We have this zone where we have plenty of touches in here, right? We have, let me look at an hourly, yeah. So, right, we have this support here that's very clear, as well as touches within here and here as well. So we can see that this is an area of um, you could call it an area of traffic or just an area of interest where the market continually, time after time, taps into this area, right? And so I'm not a huge fan of trend lines, to be honest. I don't think that there's anything wrong with them. I just don't use them a lot. Um, but I like to look at. I sort of use trend lines as more so to see the overall shape of the move, right? So like here, a lot of people maybe would have wanted to have this line on the wick down here, and then it's not super precise, right? But I care, similar to how I am with support and resistance levels. I care more so about um, the overall like general, right? Because like this, our support level here, if I don't like making this a exact precise line. I just like the overall zone, and it's sort of the same thing with trend lines, right? We have this, this is pretty fairly precise, but I'm not going to get too. What I'm saying is I'm not going to get too worried about not connecting, the every wick and that sort of stuff, right? Making it, not trying to make it perfect, right? So anyway, we have this and this nice support level here. So what do we get, right? obviously we, we're sort of just bouncing around in here, but we come back down to test this trend line again. And the key thing for me here is if we have this trend line, which is obviously, if we respect this line, right, this is going to be bullish. So we have that combined with this support. So once we come down and tap into this, and this candle here closes bullish, right? It's not only closing bullish above the trend line, but above our support level here that we are looking at. So that combined with the fact that on the daily chart here, right, we had essentially made our bottom wick on this daily candle and are working our way back up, right? This is, there's no red flags within this, right? If we were at, if this resistance was right here, and we had other touches back here, and we had a big resistance zone, we would be second guessing the position, right? But we're not, because um, because everything is clear on every time frame, right? When you have something clear here, like on the 30-minute chart and the hourly chart that we were mainly looking at, and then if you go up to a daily chart and you have, like I said, a red flag where, maybe where we're looking at entering here, maybe, like I said, this high was right here and this high was right here, and it was a big resistance level, then even though it would look bullish on the 30-minute chart, I'd be very hesitant to get into that trade because of the daily chart. But here, like I said, on the daily chart, our next main resistance is up here, and so we don't have anything to worry about. So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, just a really simple trade, and obviously, why not just hold it a little bit longer, right? I don't really care. I just closed it manually. I've had that happen a couple times. It's like a little bit of PTSD with gold. I've had some trades that I should have closed earlier, and then they came down and I got out with just a little bit of profit, which is annoying. But no, it's anything from a 2.5 to 3, a lot of times I will just close, and sometimes I'll keep a little bit open. But with this, I'm good with this. We can wait until there's some new structure, right? But overall, a really good trade. Really not much drawdown at all, right? But yeah, I hope the structure makes sense. It's really just things that are simple, right? You go with things that are simple and things that you're comfortable with. Like this was one of those no-brainer trades for me, where it was sort of the second I made this zone and made this trend line, it was like, yeah, once this closes bullish, we're going long, right? It was again sort of a no-brainer position for me, but anyway, yeah, just a little update on that. So this was overall really good trade, really good position, and yeah, really, when you do your analysis, you always have to acknowledge and be aware of every time frame, right? Because if you're only looking at something, a specific time frame, you're going to neglect other things, right? And so, you know, the time frames are telling a story, right? And you sort of want everything to fall in line together, right? If you want to go long on the 30-minute chart, you don't want the 4-hour chart or the daily chart to look bearish, right? You want everything to sort of, be in line, telling the same story. And so, anyway, just a little update on our position there. We'll probably go a little bit higher, but anyway, like I said, I'm good with this. We didn't really have any drawdown, and good quick profit. The trade didn't take too long. Pretty much didn't really have any drawdown. Pretty quick trade. So